Back in 2018, Venom kicked off Sony's big idea to start making movies about iconic Spider-Man villains and never have them see, fight, or interact with Spider-Man at all. And given the fact that I've only seen the second Venom movie, and I remember it being extremely stupid and very funny, I decided to sit down and watch all three of them to see what this is all about. And if you want to see my opinions about all these villain movies, I have one long video talking about all of them together, or I've broken them out into separate individual reviews for your ease. And with that, let's get into it.
Like a turd in the wind. Do you feel me?
The Venom trilogy, I don't think really needs an intro. All the way back in 2018, this is what kicked off the Spum universe when Tom Hardy was cast as Eddie Brock in a Venom spinoff that would never ever see Spider-Man. I mean, the whole story of Venom is directly connected to the fact that the symbiote was connected to Spider-Man first, but in this movie, they just kind of skip right past that. And in the comics, Eddie Brock is kind of supposed to be the opposite of Peter Parker. It's one of the few things that I think Spider-Man 3 back with the Sam Raimi trilogy actually does right. Eddie Brock, at the end of the day, is a hot-headed reporter who tries to cut corners and has a bad boy personality. But in this, he's nothing like that. And honestly, casting Tom Hardy, you could have easily done that. But instead, they had Tom Hardy just kind of run around and be a goofball for 3 movies. Venom, the first Venom, opens with a shuttle carrying all of our little symbiotes for this movie. It crashes, and then one of the symbiotes hijacks an EMT's body and stares at a mysterious patch that says, "The Life Foundation." We then are introduced to Eddie Brock in San Francisco, where we get a glimpse in the form of a montage of how he's a street-level journalist looking for the hard truth. The setup for this is that Eddie is supposed to go interview Carlton Drake, this movie's version of Elon Musk or another out-of-touch rich asshole weirdo. But the problem with this is, Eddie tells his boss that Carlton is a crook, and we, the audience, know he is because we know he's the villain. However, Eddie has really no reason to believe or think this. On top of that, Eddie's girlfriend, Anne, is a lawyer whose firm is representing Drake in a case. So Eddie decides it would be a super good idea to break into her computer and download classified documents about Drake. And when Eddie goes to do his interview with Drake, he just starts asking him about all the people that have died during his tests, causing Drake to tell Eddie to piss off. Now, Eddie, how did you think this was going to go down? That you would ask him all of these questions that he would never, ever, ever answer honestly, and that you'd be a hero or something? Because the exact opposite happens. Eddie actually gets fired, and because he stole the classified files from Anne's computer, she also loses her job. This sequence of events feel like they were written out of order. Why didn't they just flip this around where he is told to do the interview, he finds the files saying that Drake is a shady dude, and then he goes back to his boss and says he doesn't want to do it, but he's forced to anyways, so then he decides to go off the rails and do things his own way. For a reporter, Eddie is a fucking moron, and he honestly never gets any smarter in any of these movies. After all of that, we skip 6 months into the future where the Life Foundation is testing the symbiotes on humans, and Eddie is a certified loser.
You look like shit.
Excuse me?
You look like shit.
Now, after 6 months of Drake and the Life Foundation running tests on humans and animals and killing tons of innocent people, this one worker, played by Jenny Slate, decides that she's had enough. And out of all the people Jenny Slate could turn to, like the FBI, the CIA, police, currently employed reporters with good records, I mean, the list is kind of long, given that she has proof of what Drake is doing. So it makes total sense that she would track down disgraced reporter Eddie Brock and ask him to help. Oh, sorry, I meant that makes no fucking sense. But this is a Venom movie, so what do you expect? Jenny Slate and Eddie go to the Life Foundation, and this is where Venom straight up turns into a comedy.
Aliens?
Yes. But we don't call them that.
Then Jenny Slate just lets Eddie wander around by himself in this lab where I guess they don't have any cameras and zero security because he just strolls around snapping photos on his camera with no care in the world. He lets one of the test subjects out, and after she tackles him, Venom transfers over to him, and I guess they do have security guards because then they finally show up to chase him for a bit. This chase sequence also highlights how stupid Eddie really is because he leaps off a wall, breaks through a door, leaps up onto the top of a tree, and doesn't even remotely question it. Not even when he does this.
How, in the name of all that's holy, did you do that?
Well, it's interesting, isn't
it?
And now that Eddie has all the proof he needs, all he really has to do is go back to his old job, give them all the photos, and solve all of his problems. Look, I already told you this is a Venom movie, so that's not even close to what he does. Instead, he eats frozen tater tots, old chicken from the trash can, and vomits in his toilet. Now, when I covered the Daredevil 2003 movie, I said that the playground fight was the funniest and weirdest thing I had seen in a superhero movie. Well, Venom has stolen that title from Daredevil because what Eddie does next is fucking hilarious. Eddie barges into a restaurant that Anne and her new boyfriend Dr. Dan are eating at, and he just acts like a complete lunatic.
Eddie, Jesus!
This is dead. Dead.
I mean, Eddie ends up getting into a lobster tank and just starts raw dogging one like it's corn on the cob. And it doesn't even end in the restaurant because the next scene is Eddie going into an MRI machine and he reacts like this. So Dr. Dan is just like, don't worry, man. I'm claustrophobic too. There's no reason to freak out. You don't think that maybe this is something more than a basic fear of tight spaces? I mean, you're a doctor. Doesn't this seem a little abnormal to you? Is everybody in this movie fucking stupid? At the same time, Jenny Slate confesses to Drake about bringing Eddie into the lab, so Drake kills her and then goes after Eddie. And I don't even really know how to process what happens next, but the Life Foundation has a hit squad? Yeah, I don't know why this foundation for cancer and space research has a hit squad of hired guns, but they also have a fleet of killer exploding drones. Yeah, like I said, don't think about it too much because they go after Eddie, and we ultimately get a pretty decent fight scene in Eddie's apartment where Venom is controlling his body while he beats all the goons up. This reminds me of the scene from the movie Upgrade where the same thing happens, but that's a better movie. It gets a little silly when the previously mentioned fleet of exploding drones start dive bombing him in the street while he escapes on his motorcycle. Drake has no shits to give about public damage or possibly killing innocent bystanders because this is a lot of explosives. After Eddie crashes, Venom heals him up, bites a dude's head off in the most PG-13 way possible, and the two newly formed friends chat a bit about what's going on. Then Venom does something that is just laughably dumb. Up until this point, there's been one specific symbiote at the Life Foundation that Drake has been watching. We've seen this thing kill 3 people, including Jenny Slate, one of the very few background characters who actually got something to do. But the Life Foundation is the most confusing billionaire organization I've ever seen, even in a fictional story. They have all kinds of high-tech equipment, can bring aliens back from space, but don't have a camera system to watch for intruders or to watch their literal aliens. I'm not joking. This symbiote dies, and Drake says it's because nobody was watching it and it was left out. These are advanced aliens that, spoiler alert, by the third one are doing some absolute crazy shit, and yet it dies because it was left out of a container?
Your world is not so ugly after all.
Yeah, Venom. San Francisco sure is pretty.
Jump. Pussy.
This movie is also way funnier when it doesn't try. We get another fight scene where Eddie tells Venom not to kill these cops, but yeah, I'm not so sure about that one, dude. Anne shows up to bring Eddie to the hospital, and how did she not look in her mirror and see this drone flying 2 feet behind her car? Doesn't matter, because we finally get to talk about the stupid side plot that I haven't mentioned yet. Throughout the movie, we cut back to the EMT symbiote that escaped in the very beginning. And the thing is, we had the 6-month time skip, and throughout this entire time, all we do is slowly watch this symbiote make its way to America. Also, Venom does sneak in a little girl's death, because so far, every time a symbiote takes over a body and then leaves the body, that person is dead. And we see the symbiote take over a little girl's body, which means that little girl is dead. Venom killed a little girl and nobody noticed. And this symbiote is the big villain for the movie, Riot, who shows up at Drake's lab and the two connect so Venom can fight them later. It's just so funny to me that they included this little side plot of Riot making his way downtown, all while they had a lab of symbiotes that could have easily accomplished this. What's even funnier about this is the fact that Drake has told us a couple times in this movie that if the host isn't a compatible match for the symbiote, the host will die. And so far, none of their test subjects have successfully bonded with one of the symbiotes. How lucky is it that for Riot, every time he jumped into a new host, they were a compatible match? I mean, what are the odds of that? Like, seriously, what are the odds of that? I truly do not understand the thinking behind this, but again, it's a Venom movie, so say it with me. We aren't supposed to think about it. Dr. Dan uses the MRI machine to get Venom to jump out of Eddie. Eddie gets captured by the Life Goons, and Venom takes over a dog. Riot interrogates Eddie, and Tom Hardy continues to make me chuckle with his performance in this movie.
Oh, he has one up his ass, too.
Continuing the stupid train, the head of the goon squad takes Eddie all the way out to the woods in order to kill him. Even though multiple people have died in the lab, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Don't think about it. Because Lady Venom is here to make you feel things you never knew you could. Okay, I take it back. It's gross now. And as we enter the third act for this final battle, we learn what's up with Venom. He tells Eddie that Riot is going to come back with millions of symbiotes to take over the Earth. And like Eddie, Venom is also a loser back on his home planet. So now he wants to save Earth because those 3 seconds that he looked out at San Francisco changed his mind. That and this really weird and obvious ADR moment.
Cut the bullshit. What really made you change your mind?
You did, Eddie.
Step back and sing it for a vomit!
This final fight is also extremely hard to watch. It is just CGI goo people jumping around and like, what is this? Seriously, what am I looking at here? I mean, at one point, it's literally just Eddie versus Drake, a bigger guy versus a billionaire, and I just like, what is this? Then Eddie gets stabbed by Riot and fucking dies for a second before Venom comes along and brings him back to life somehow. In the end, Venom blows up the rocket with Riot inside, and Eddie still has a crappy life because he didn't get the girl back. But he does get to say hello to Stan Lee. Oh, and we get the hilarious Woody Harrelson in a Ronald McDonald wig at the end, which leads us to... Now, this is the only Venom movie I've actually seen before. One night for fun, I took some inspiration from Snoop Dogg and Seth Rogen and thought this would be a fun watch. The only thing I remember from this movie is that I was laughing the whole time. So honestly, I'm excited to remember why. And right away, Venom 2 shows you that they listened to all the complaints about the Ronald McDonald wig, because as soon as we see Woody Harrelson, it's gone. The setup for this one is that Cletus Cassidy is willing to give Eddie his life story in exchange for Eddie getting a message out to his fans through a front page news headline. Eddie ultimately agrees because he's still a loser, and his new attempt at written journalism isn't going super well.
Trust me, the only scoop I'm getting today is double chocolate chip.
No! Get brain freeze!
So what happens next is a little strange, but Venom becomes a super detective, which allows him to uncover where the missing bodies of Cletus's final victims are buried. And this just makes things way worse for Eddie. For one, it pisses the FBI off because it makes them look bad. Cletus swears revenge because now he's getting the death penalty since the cops don't need him around to find the bodies anymore. And Eddie doesn't get the life story. Instead, he gets famous for finding the location of the bodies. And this might just be me, but writing a story about the life of a serial killer would probably set you up in the future better as a journalist over finding the bodies and getting fame that way. It also turns out that Anne is marrying Dr. Dan, which makes Eddie extra sad, so we get this goofy little scene of Venom cooking for him.
Potatoes, tomatoes, let's call the whole thing off.
Eddie ends up getting an invite for Cletus to see him one last time before his execution, and he also gives us some backstory on who he is. Cletus tells us he pushed his grandma down the stairs, threw a hairdryer into his mom's bathtub, and was beaten by his dad, who sent him to a place called St. Estes, home for unwanted children. When did Cletus murder all of these other people? Because as far as we see, he murdered his grandma and his mom, was sent to this home, and then spent his entire life there until going to prison.
It's so dumb.
It's so dumb, it's brilliant.
No! It's just dumb.
Cletus uses this time with Eddie to just insult him, which makes Venom attack Cletus, and Cletus takes a bite out of Eddie. Quite literally. And through Cletus biting Eddie, this is what brings the title character Carnage into the plot. Back at his apartment, Eddie and Venom argue some more about how Eddie doesn't like Venom very much because Venom is annoying and makes everything harder on Eddie. So Venom just beats Eddie up for a little bit until he leaves, and we go from Venom flipping Eddie off straight into a lethal injection scene. Of course, Carnage is inside Cletus, so it backfires so he can go cause some actual carnage and escape prison. We also see Venom going through hosts as they keep dying, which makes me ask the same question I had in the last movie. How did Riot get so lucky that every time he jumped host, it was a match, while every other symbiote, it's like a 1 in a million chance? Oh, and we get a funny little moment where Cletus and Carnage make a deal, and he just throws a random truck off a bridge. Eddie, on the other hand, goes to investigate the St. Estes home for unwanted children to reveal that the FBI agent who kind of works with Eddie is the guy who shot Cletus's lover. Way back when they were younger at St. Estes, Cletus had a love interest named Frances, but she was taken away and shot by this FBI guy during her transport. She was rescued by some secret organization and kept hidden because she has supersonic screaming powers, and Cletus learns she's still alive when Carnage hacks into a gas station computer and retrieves the files. No, you heard me right. Carnage also has computer hacking powers. You know what? Let's say it again. It's a Venom movie. We aren't supposed to think about it.
That is so hot!
Then Cletus and Frances blow up St. Estes as they drive away in a fireball because it's that kind of movie.
You're the coolest, you're the hottest, and you're the bravest.
I am.
No, I'm still standing right here.
No one likes you, Dan.
Guys, I think I love this movie. It's fucking hilarious. So Eddie and Venom make up while Cletus and Frances start to plan out their wedding. As we move into the final battle, Team Carnage captures the FBI guy that shot Frances and Anne in order to lure Eddie and Venom in.
Death to you, Father.
No!
Not you, Father. You, Father. Oh, shit!
And just like the first one, the battle is just two goo monsters punching each other, but at least this time, their colors are distinctly different. Dan also shows up to help with the fight, and it eventually turns into just Woody Harrelson versus Tom Hardy again, as a bell makes Venom and Carnage go into hiding. Carnage then beats the shit out of Venom, like, pretty bad. He leaves him under some rubble, and then when he finally gets out, he stabs him a shit ton of times. The fight comes to an end when Venom swats Frances off the bell tower, the bell squashes her, and Venom eats both Carnage and then Cletus's head. It's honestly a wild ride, but my favorite part is when the bell tower just falls on her. Like, what a way for her character to go out. And in a post-credits scene, Eddie is transported to the MCU where Venom licks Tom Holland's face. This one opens with some lore that we have to establish before moving into the actual story. Big villain Null is the creator of the symbiotes and these things called the xenophages, which are the symbiotes' sisters. One day, he was betrayed by the symbiotes, who imprisoned him, and the only thing that can get him out is a thing called a codex. So he sent out his xenophage monsters to find it. It's also super lame that during this intro, we don't see Null's face at all, because, spoiler alert, he's barely a part of this, so why are they even bothering keeping it hidden? After that, we catch up with Eddie and Venom, who are now a part of the MCU, and they're gone. Well, that lasted for 3 seconds before Kevin Feige kicked them out. Back in their shitty universe, they're wanted for the events in the last movie, so they decide to lay low. In order to do so, Venom says he needs some fuel, meaning we get a quick fight scene, and Venom continues to bite people's heads off in the most PG-13 way possible. At the same time, a guy named General Strickland goes on the hunt for Eddie after spotting him on a camera in Mexico. We also meet another new character, Dr. Teddy Payne, who in a quick flashback, we see that she was struck by lightning, and because her twin brother was holding her hand, it went through her and killed him instead. But we're not done yet. Do you remember the FBI guy from the last one? Well, he survived, and now he's in an underground, top-secret Area 51 lab where Payne and Strickland are studying the symbiotes. And now the FBI guy has a symbiote inside of him who they can talk to. Is that enough setup for this movie? Because it feels like this is the start of a whole nother trilogy, but this is the finale. This is the last Venom movie, and they're doing all of this in the first 10 minutes. Now, back in the first Venom movie, Venom told Eddie that all the symbiotes were coming to Earth to wipe out the humans. That was Riot's whole plan. Go back to their planet, get the symbiotes, come back to Earth, kill all humans. But now this symbiote named Toxin that's inside the FBI guy says that they were coming to Earth in order to seek safe haven from Null. Do I need to say the thing one more time? Yeah, okay, one more time. It's a Venom movie. You're not supposed to think about it. A xenophage quickly attacks Eddie and Venom as they're riding on a plane, but it gets sucked into the plane's engine, allowing for Venom and Eddie to float down to safety. Venom explains the codex, but it's so silly, I'm just gonna have to play the clip for you.
Let's say you died. I could bring you back to life.
Well, I like that.
Our separate life forces will become one.
What the hell is a codex?
It's a key that unlocks a cage.
And because way back in the first one, Eddie did die, they now have a codex. And so if Venom fully transforms, the xenophages can spot them. Which leads to this moment.
Surprise, Horsey! I love Horsey!
At some point, a meteor carrying 5 more symbiotes crashed on Earth. Strickland captured them and brought them to the secret Area 51 underground base. And speaking of Area 51, some high-tech soldiers show up to blast Eddie and Venom, but Eddie kills one by accident. And you might be thinking, oh man, this is definitely going to come into play later. This is going to be a big point of contention between Strickland and Eddie and set up their whole rivalry. I'm going to stop you right there. It doesn't. This doesn't matter. isn't brought up really ever again, and ultimately plays no part in the plot. During the scuffle, Venom has to fully transform in order to save Eddie's life, alerting the Xenophage to their location, resulting in some more soldiers getting killed. And when Strickland calls Payne to tell her what's going on, she completely disregards the fact that people died and asks Strickland if he can get samples. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to think of Dr. Payne. She has a sad backstory and is nice to some people, but then totally callous at other times. It's really weird, and honestly, all of these characters in this movie don't have enough development for me to really know how I'm supposed to feel about them in the end. So the symbiote inside the FBI guy comes out to bring everyone else up to speed about the Codex. Eddie then meets Martin and his family, and they have the weirdest conversation ever.
Yeah. All right. Long way to New York with naked shrimps, man. Yeah.
Directly after that, everyone sings Space Oddity by David Bowie, and they drop Eddie off in Las Vegas. Then, this guy pees on Eddie's foot, so Venom knocks him out, and Eddie puts a nice suit on after not showering for days.
No, I would say that Lady Luck is definitely not on your side tonight. In fact, I would even go so far to say that Lady Luck hates you, buddy.
I can't stop now!
I truly don't understand these movies, but I'm guessing this is probably what it feels like to take hard drugs. Because then, Venom fully transforms in order to dance with Mrs. Chen to ABBA after they bump into her at the casino. The Xenophage comes bursting into the room, but then at pretty much the same time, the Area 51 guys show up to capture Eddie and Venom, so the Xenophage just leaves? Even though we saw it regenerate and easily take out these Area 51 guys, so why is the Xenophage running away from things it could easily kill? Oh no, I'm starting to think about it. Doesn't matter. Down in Area 51, a big battle kicks off with a bunch of random symbiotes fighting a Xenophage until they all get their asses kicked. I'm not kidding. Most of them either get eaten or get killed when Strickland shoots a rocket at them all. And the worst part is, they really didn't even do any damage to the Xenophage, which leaves me with a ton of questions. Some more fighting takes place, which includes Venom on a dirt bike, Strickland getting stabbed, and a nice decapitation with helicopter blades. At one point, Martin even gets to blow the head off of a Xenophage to save Eddie's life.
Still living your brother's dream.
That's a fucked up thing to say right now, dude. In the end, Venom saves the day by latching on to all the Xenophages, dragging them over to an acid bath, having an emotional goodbye with Eddie, and then coming to his final end. Oh, and to help out, Strickland blows himself up, giving us this cool-looking explosion in the end. Venom 3 ends with Eddie getting a clean record, he goes to New York City to start over, and we are treated to a montage of his time with Venom set to Memories by Maroon 5. This is certainly a movie trilogy. I can for sure say that after watching all three of them back to back. Eddie is such an interesting character, and we learn in the third one that all of the events of these movies take place over the course of a year. And the thing is, Venom has more character development than Eddie. Eddie doesn't really change at all throughout these movies. He spends 90% of his screen time complaining about Venom across all three movies. And in the third one, randomly, out of nowhere, he calls Venom his best friend. I think the writer for the last movie realized a little too late that Venom's death was gonna need to be sad, because Eddie's hard turn into #1 Venom fanboy is kind of a hard sell. We actually don't learn anything about Eddie. Not even a flashback to him as a kid, nothing. All we get is Cletus in the second one mentioning something about Eddie's childhood, but that's kind of it. I think we learn more about the villains, Venom, and all the other symbiotes than we do Eddie. I'm not joking. That might be how much backstory and character growth the main character for all three of these movies actually gets. Basically none. I guess the creators thought they could rely on Tom Hardy being a weird, bumbling goofball to carry all of these movies, and it works sometimes, but not all the time. I also find it funny that after he ruins his life in less than 24 hours, his life never really improves after that. Not surprising he couldn't find another job, because he was also really bad at being a journalist. And even when his life kind of gets back on track after he gets his 5 seconds of fame in Venom 2, it's immediately ruined by everyone thinking he's a murderer. The second one ends pinning everything that happened on Eddie, which results in him having to go on the run in the third one. But this world is also really hard to follow because a lot of things don't add up. Sometimes Venom tries to keep the continuity between the movies, and other times it just says, fuck it, who cares? And they're probably right. Sure, it's fun to point all the inconsistencies out and make fun of them, but that's why I like these types of movies. I think the Venom trilogy relies on the fact that you're not supposed to think about it too much and just kind of enjoy the dumb, fun ride that you're going on. And with that in mind, I can kind of get behind it. I mean, the Venom movies are funny as hell, even when they don't mean to be. Like in the third one, when Eddie lies to a kid that aliens aren't real, and Venom tells him that he would have been a good dad. And not long after that, the kid sees that alien exists anyways. So dumb. The second one is easily the best in my opinion. It has the stupidest moments that I can truly appreciate. I also like that Cletus and Francis are a terrible match for each other because her shrieking messes up Carnage, and that's their undoing in the end. I do, however, think that moving the story away from any kind of love plot with Eddie was the right move. I like that he doesn't win Anne back, and he doesn't get anyone in the end. I also find it funny that Eddie Brock finally made it to New York City. It's just a shame that it took 3 movies and Venom is dead. But hey, maybe Spider-Man? And speaking of Spider-Man, what was the point of the post-credits scene at the end of the second one? At one point, it definitely feels like they were going to try to do something with it. I mean, they could have at least used it as an excuse to give him the white symbol on his chest for the third movie, but no, just nothing at all came from this scene. Venom is one of those franchises that feels like they weren't 100% certain if the next movie was guaranteed, so laying any kind of concrete sequel work had to be navigated very carefully. This version of Venom is not like the comics. He's wacky and kind of out there, so I think it would have been a little fun to see him fight some of the C-list Spider-Man villains. Later on, when we get to Kraven, that's basically what he does. He fights the Rhino, and I think Venom should have done something similar. Venom fights Riot, an evil symbiote with similar powers, but mainly he just uses bladed weapons. Venom fights Carnage, an evil symbiote who has similar powers, but he mainly just uses spiky weapons. And he fights some xenophage things that just kind of try to eat you. At least the second one had Shriek, who Venom didn't get to really fight. All he did was crush her with a bell, but at least she's in it. It's better than every final battle, which is pretty much what I said each time. It's CGI goo guys punching and floating around until one wins. And I would love to see this version of Venom go up against Tom Holland. Might bite his head off, but you know, who knows? Also, I like Juno Temple a lot from Ted Lasso, but her American accent slips so hard throughout the third movie. I don't blame her because she's from London, and if you've seen Ted Lasso, you know what she normally sounds like.
This game has gone on long enough. Shit. Are you doing an accent?
Yeah, I was doing a British. It was a British accent.
That was British?
But why didn't they just let her be British? Like most characters we meet in these movies, there isn't much to her, and her backstory doesn't even fucking matter. All her character does is at the very end, she gets a symbiote suit that makes her move really fast. Like lightning, you know, because she was struck by lightning. To me, the best thing about Venom is how it's not the kind of movie you can think critically about in any way. Remember when Venom fought the xenophage on that plane and it went into the engine and the engine blew up? I wonder what happened to that plane. Did it blow up too? Why did Riot take 6 months to get to America? Why did Eddie think asking those questions to Carlton Drake was a good idea? How did Cletus biting Eddie create Carnage? Speaking of that, how do symbiotes reproduce? Never mind. I actually don't want to know the answer to that last one. I will say that it's thanks to Tom Hardy that these movies are at all worth a watch. I've never seen him in a role like this before. It's really jarring to see Tom Hardy go from something like Bane, Mad Max, or even his role in that new Netflix movie Havoc, and then see him play a character like Eddie Brock. Overall, Venom is fun and not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. I think at the end of the day, the villain movies are pure silliness. And though they are by no means good, they at least keep you entertained with the humor and the somewhat okay action. And I think that lands the Venom trilogy in so bad, it's good.